A day in the life of a police officer is never the same as the one before it. From high-speed chases to chilling investigations, a police officer must be prepared for anything, even the unexplained. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a closer look at some cases that remain a mystery. A mysterious voice led rescuers to find a child who survived for 14 hours in a submerged car. Is it possible to send one last plea for help from the afterlife? First responders from a fatal Utah car accident are still questioning the origins of the cries for help they heard when they arrived on the scene. After 14 hours of being submerged in the near-freezing waters of the Spanish Fork River, a red Dodge sedan was spotted by a fisherman who immediately called 911. As Officer Beddoes and his team of first responders braved the icy waters and approached the vehicle, they each heard a distinct voice crying out for help from the car. Filled with adrenaline and determined to rescue the survivors trapped in the vehicle, the first responders were able to flip the car back over and get the doors open. The voice they heard was all the motivation they needed to pull the heavy vehicle out of the water and onto its side. Inside, they did not find the owner of the mysterious voice. Slumped in the driver's seat was Jennifer Grosbeck, a 25-year-old mother who appeared to have already passed away on impact. In the back seat was 18-month-old Lily, still strapped into her car seat. When they found the child, she was unconscious but still alive. Her eyes were fluttering, but she showed no other signs of movement. Suspecting hypothermia, the officers rushed to get the baby out of the water and performed CPR immediately. Strapped securely in her car seat, Lily spent the 14 hours before her discovery suspended upside down, her head only inches above the water. She may not have survived had she been submerged into the icy river. Thankfully, Lily is alive and healthy. Each of the officers involved in the rescue of Lily Grosbeck claimed to have heard the voice calling for help. Jared Warner, an officer on the scene, told NBC that the voice he heard was clear as day. The officers are insistent that it was not the cries of a child and that there was no mistaking that they heard someone clearly shouting, help me," from the car. With Lily being unconscious and the mother, Jennifer, presumed to have passed away on impact, who could the officers have possibly heard from within the vehicle? Was this some sort of divine intervention? The voice was not the only unexplained occurrence at the scene. 3 of the officers that day were treated for hypothermia shortly after the rescue, but all of them reported that they did not feel cold when jumping in the water to rescue the passengers. It was as if some greater power was at work and was determined to see the child live. Or is it possible that the power of a mother's love was somehow able to reach out beyond the grave as a final effort to protect her baby? The disappearance of Mel Wily. Police Chief Mel Wily was last seen on July 27, 1985, on a date with his girlfriend in Hinckley Township, a suburb of Cleveland. His car was found on July 30th at Lakefront State Park on Lake Erie in Cleveland, Ohio. Police performed a thorough search of the area and found no sign of Wily. After searching his car, which was still locked, they found his wallet with $15 in cash, his police ID and badge, some sunscreen, a pack of cigarettes, and a beach towel. After performing an investigation among Wily's friends, family, and co-workers, authorities ruled out the possibility of foul play. Wily left work early a lot and seemed moody in the weeks before his disappearance. His friends believed that he had grown tired of his job but did not think anything of it. He had always wanted to retire at 50, so he could write full-time, but he ended up disappearing 3 years before retirement. In his spare time, Wily wrote poetry and was a thriller mystery novelist. Before his disappearance, he was writing a novel about a homicide in Pennsylvania that he often spoke of to anyone that would listen. When police entered Wily's home, it was spotless, and he had also left several days of food and water out for his 2 cats. After an extensive search through his belongings, his thriller manuscript was nowhere to be found. Other missing things were stamps, envelopes, his music collection, typewriter paper, and an address book. Most of his long-sleeve shirts were missing. which he frequently wore to cover the burns on his arms that he had suffered while serving in the military. The only thing left in his fridge was a jar of mayonnaise. The police later found out that his desk at the police station was empty as well, except for a key to his apartment. At this point, it was as if Wily had merely vanished into thin air, but after picking up his dry cleaning, police found the first of many strange clues. Located in the pocket of his police uniform were bus schedules from Cleveland to San Francisco. Wily had written a letter to a female friend before his disappearance. He had expressed that he wanted to disappear and was tired of his life in Hinckley. The letter stated that he would be 2,500 miles away when his friend would receive his letter, roughly the distance between Cleveland and San Francisco. Police were able to decipher the letter by looking at the ribbon on his office typewriter. Investigators were never able to track down the original letter, and it appears that the friend never received it. As a police chief, Mel had access to all he would need to form a new identity directly at his fingertips. With access to a database of fingerprints and social security information, it is entirely possible that Mel leveraged his years in law enforcement to facilitate his disappearance. With his military background and several years in law enforcement, he would also know how to stay off the radar. Mel was the only suspect in his own case. He was declared legally deceased in 1993 per Ohio law, once he had been missing for 5 years. Mel could very well be enjoying his remaining years writing poetry and novels on the West Coast today. Having a passion for writing mysteries, Wily's most tremendous story appears to have been the one of his own disappearance. The Cape Intruder, Cape Elizabeth, Maine Hay. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and felt like someone was watching you? Well, if you lived in the town of Cape Elizabeth, Maine in 2005, that may very well have been the case. In this small town of only 9,000 people, residents felt like they knew their neighbours, and it was not uncommon to leave their doors unlocked. That summer, residents of the small town that did not lock their doors at night reported that there would be a man in their room when they would wake up in the morning, staring at them as they slept. Every time, the man would flee the house before the victim would even react. They never reported any damages. No one was ever harmed, and there were never any tragic accidents. The man did, however, take any feeling of safety these people once felt in their homes. While they were never injured or robbed, it did not make the situation of a stranger looming over them as they woke any less terrifying. After the local news showed a rough sketch of a young man who appeared to be in his early 20s, the police received a ton of leads from people who thought they knew the man, but the police never did catch the Cape Intruder. The break-ins continued through the fall and into February of the following year before they just stopped. It is not known whether the intruder grew bored of the activity or simply moved on to another town. If there is one thing to take away from this story, it is to lock your doors. But what do you make of these strange goings-on? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.